Yeah, I mean, basically, like, you see the Ashe and the Azir, you can go ahead and take the Bard here, because there's low mobility carries in which you can ultimate, in theory. A bit surprised they didn't take the Jax the Renekton in the first rotation of picks and opted for the Rakan instead, just because they had already picked the Sejuani early. And then, you know, blind picking Gnar for Wonder, classic here. Just a relatively safe pick. And I'm a bit surprised we haven't seen any Jace yet with some of the lethality changes that are happening. Obviously, Gnar Bard synergy going to be very good as well. Varus, Gnar Bard synergy, all really, really good because you can set up chain CC from all of their ultimates. What is this week's Nerd Legion? Rebel Moon. You're still hoping for Blue Eye Samurai? That is next week. That is next week, guys. We already recorded that show. It just needs to be edited. That show is really fucking good, though.
Well, I'm curious because I think the bot side from Heretics can get pushed at least with Bard and Varus in the early game down towards the bottom side, and maybe you can start looking into some invades on the red.
Will I do a bangers only stream when T1 faces Genji? Of course I will. That'll be coming on Thursday. Thursday my time. What type of curry? It's kind of like a, it's more of a Indian-based curry in the fact that it's a tomato base, but it also has, and I use ghee to cook. It has ghee in it, but it also has coconut milk. So maybe more of like a southern Indian style curry.
Same question. Knowing which team impressed you the most, GB, who do you think is in the best position of taking?
Well, we had to do predictions at the start of the day. I'm gonna
Yeah, I love Blue Eye Samurai, man. I thought it was a great show.
GIANTX for you.
I'm also a GIANTX believer.
All right.
That's the first time we agreed today, huh?
Well, we will see how both this team play onto the rift. Thank you so much, guys. It was a pleasure doing the draft.
I saw a D20 in the Nerd Legion. Will there be D&D related content? Not right now.
Yeah,
maybe in the future, though.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the casting booth. You won't be able to see us, but we get to live up to the hype of today, which is the 600th game for a legend in the scene. Even I know, you know.
Would I call yourself? I am a very good cook.
It's crazy, and you and I as well.
I'm an extremely good cook.
Cast together since when? How many days?
It's been 1,233 days since we cast together in person. Back LPL Summer 2020.
Wow.
So it's been a hot minute, but happy to have you here. Happy to have you in person here.
I don't have the, you know, the Munchballs and Dagda flair. I've got the Dagsterics. Is that okay?
Yeah. I'm down.
I feel like that's...
South Indian curry use coconut oil more than ghee. Well, there's coconut oil in here, too. What have I told you that? What have I told you there is both coconut oil and ghee in here?
And it's crazy to see this guy be around for so long. You know, talking about those 10 years of tenureship in the LEC Dagda.
Yeah, and I mean, this guy...
But it's kind of like a butter chicken in that there's a lot of... I grated like 5 tomatoes. So like a box grater, I grated up tomatoes to make the base of this. And onions.
It kind of speaks volumes that this man is still here in the LEC, still at the top of his game.
It was very good.
Now that he can kind of prove it against some of the newcomers in like Jackies and Peach, who are the upstarts, and see if they can try and take down Heretics here.
Yeah, it's like a birthday, yeah. And it's a huge one at that. Going up against Peach, as you said, bit of a newcomer. 36 games individually I counted.
Have I seen Train to Busan? Of course.
So complete opposite spectrum as Yanka starts in the
of course I have.
Here to open up their game now. Team Heretics and GX, we've got similarities here, Dagda, where it's been a bit back and forth. I think strong early game yesterday out of GIANTX. Team Heretics we saw against Rogue, punishing the inactivity from that team too. So it is good to see them both coming off some strong points as we run into today to look for that second win, which gives you a bit of a boost up, really the halfway point that we've been talking about that will lead you into the 4 magic number Vedius was giving yesterday.
Yeah, I think GX are going to be a little bit upset, though.
Who cooks better, me or my wife? Me by a million times. My wife doesn't cook, really.
Little mistakes.
I do all the cooking.
But a huge portion of that was Peach playing heavily.
But I really enjoy cooking.
Trying to get Patrick and Ignar into a position where
I cook Korean food way better than my wife does. Way better.
He did a fantastic job of doing that. And I think we'll probably see something very similar here. I mean, Ashe, Sejuani, double Frail Yord, double slows is such a pain for someone like Flacket trying to escape that if you can get that engage going.
Some lockdown is just not.
How's my baking? Trash. I don't like baking very much. I don't have much of a sweet tooth. So baking's a very different skill, and I also find baking really annoying.
Once more that we have to talk about as perks it makes this matchup look a little bit easier.
Yeah, I definitely think this has been something that we've seen a lot in well, LEC is this matchup where the Akali stepping up, getting a ton of damage off in the early stages, being able to proc those Qs. It's something that, like, over in the LPL, I've seen a lot of with, like,
Way to subvert traditional gender roles. How is that a traditional gender role? Like, I used to cook in like a Thai restaurant when I was in college. In restaurants, like almost everybody who is a chef is a man. You know, restaurants is overwhelmingly male-dominated industry.
Just had the sliding glide to get Jackie's out of there, so you can already see action galore, but it is Flacket and Kaiser who strike first.
I heard you there. Look at the mid bot. Where are we looking?
It's everywhere. But
Pete's trying to do the same thing as well, right? Just helping get the push here as Perk's just going to react. And Jackie's again needs a bit of pressure here with the way the trading's been going.
And I think a lot of this game is going to be for GX trying to track exactly where Jankos is. Because what we've seen a lot of the last couple of days is, hey, when we get this ins out, we want to look for engages, we want to look for invades, we want to try and skirmish early. And I think that's why we got that early hawk shot to try and spot him out. But on this bot side, just see Flacket stepping, or Ignar going for the engage onto Flacket. Great stun coming through from Kaiser. And Ignar.
What do you think about the new focus on the nations of the teams? I mean, it's worked in Counter-Strike for a very long time, right? Okay, Ignar, just get Bard stunned, I guess, right when you engage. What the fuck is that? What were they trying to do here? Ignar, what? He's actually just trolling.
To try and knock that one out. So great job by Kaiser to land that stun and set them up perfectly.
I love the reaction from some of the bards. You know, looking at DOS the other day as well as we opened up LEC. It was a pretty good bard game, and it's been a reactionary pick here in the league so far. Nice to see a bit of.
What's my favorite Korean film? Old Boy, probably.
And some of the repetitive picks that we're getting through. But again, good to see the bard, especially now as Kaiser makes his roam, but Jackie's out with a shifting stance.
Yeah, just going to make sure that Perks is able to actually set himself up here. You can see all the hot chocolates going down to make sure Perks is going to be fine. And just make it as uncomfortable as possible. Jackie's hadn't actually gone for the reset yet, so he's going to go back and do that now. TP into the lane. And you can see the Bard is going to start to move down because that wave in bot lane had crashed. So Kaiser definitely wants to be there to make sure he can try and support Flacket in getting the majority of that CS.
And look at what the wave's doing, slowly pushing against. Perks is still in a great position here as he goes up and trades, zones out. Jankos hovers around while Peach is getting frisky in the enemy jungle. He's got a level advantage here, Dagda. Let's see if it means anything.
No, I think at the moment he's just trying to, again, spot out where Jankos is and keep tracks and wonder. Starting to roam down, we'll spot out the Peach is here, but they're just going to back away. In a 2v2 scenario where you can actually get O2.
Yes, I've seen the Vengeance trilogy.
Proc the passive from the Sejuani, yes, you can do some damage in the 2v2, but if it's just going to be a scenario where it's Jankos versus Peach, that's where it's going to be a bit more of a difficult one. Jankos, now starting up the boy groups though.
Yeah, like here, takes one with the smite. Peach zoned away yet again. I'm more concerned about what is happening on mid because it depends on who can move first.
I think Peach smited the shield.
Man, Perks is just shitting on this Azir in mid lane.
That's the Peach just saying, yeah, no, it's cool, bro.
600th game.
Yeah. Here's your birthday present.
Do you guys know if this matchup has changed at all this season? Because we haven't seen a lot of this matchup so far. We've seen it a couple times, but this feels really. I mean, Akali's definitely stronger, but this feels pretty crazy. 20 CS difference at 6 minutes.
I think Jankos playing heavily for mid alongside Kaiser has set up wonderfully for Perks in this mid lane as well. And I think
we'll keep an eye on this one, because if this is now an Azir counter matchup instead of a skill matchup, that would be a very interesting development.
Set up our waves in the early stages. How do we want to lane? Taking a lot of those lessons learned over the years and applying it. And unfortunately, against Mad Lions Koi, didn't quite work out for them. They got a bit bodied in the early stages, but yesterday, very slow and calculated. Today, kind of doing a very similar thing. Look, you got some fire on the bot side, but realistically, it's more, hey, we're going to play for these small incremental advantages with the mid lane plays and now in that bot lane as well.
But let's talk about how it develops, because I think 6 is an important point in this game. Not just because you have Ashe, Rakan, you know, the powerhouse that is Peach with the Glacial Prison. I think more importantly, Perks, Flacket as well. There's going to be some big ulti power that comes through, especially when we know...
Perks is just punishing the rookie. That's how I feel. Maybe Akali is slightly favored now.
What I really want to see is how this ultimate from Patrick gets used. Oftentimes we see, like, Ashe looks for a reset.
Yeah, there's not a big sample size. That's why I'm asking.
Hit on towards the likes of Perks in that mid and set up for a play. I mean, with the shuffle, also having Peach, you can try and play around that as well with his ultimate available. I think Perks is going to be in kind of the big target here. Also an opportunity to look for Flacken on that bot side, but with the cleanse still there and Kaiser going to be shortly hitting 6 himself, they'll be able to kind of shut down a lot of that advanced pressure that GX could try and bring to that bot lane, especially if Jankos...
I'm glad to see. I mean, it was a little disturbing to see how hard Heretics was clapped, you know, earlier this week. So it's good to see that they've, you know, stabilized a little bit at ending the week 2-1, because LEC is going to be much more interesting with like the old G2 core being a good team, or at least a competitive team.
Was huge at Worlds on NRG. You know, we had another big supportal combat yesterday as well. And when you think about who's big as Shuriken Flip, it's just not going to give me a chance, is it? Because Jackie's all in. Oh, swift movement from Perks. Makes it out. And it's done, isn't it? You know it is. Perks with the flash available and the ulti. Thinking about how he can take it. But look, standing by Jankos, flash for flash. Jackie's now out of options as Peach has to cover.
That was so close. Jackie's tries to go for the outplay on Perks, but not going to...
Jerky's Minion, you're back. Thank you. I'm here for bangers only. Well, you may have missed most of the bangers. We're kind of in the dredges of the LEC games that happened last night. And if we're being honest, there haven't been that many bangers. But it's the hope of bangers in the future that keeps our dreams alive, right?
Jackie's flash is gone. We'll leave him a little bit more suspect when it comes towards Kaiser trying to get these roams off, but a kill going across the GX is going to be a happy day.
Stop all that mid lane aggression. Let's look at the replay though, Dagda, because Perks, you thought he had this after Jackie's had to burn the ult.
Yeah, once I saw this, it kind of becomes the, hey, how are you going to...
But it's okay, as more leagues come online, as LPL and LCK start, and even some of those LCS games, like, come on, you're at least a little... I'm a little excited about Cloud9 versus FlyQuest. Doesn't sound terrible.
Jankos doesn't quite because the flash, and then it's just Peach.
So we'll be able to curate our bangers starting on Thursday when LCK kicks off. I'm really excited for that T1 Gen G match.
Outside of the CS lead that he is losing, but at least again stopping Perks to some regard. Because if you look across the map, as I was saying before, Dagda, outside of that kill, it is still good news for Team Heretics. We've got the kill.
Oh yeah, we're all thrilled. We don't have to watch EG.
Going down the bottom side, it's the CS lead through mid, CS lead through top as well. Things still looking good as the Grubs are respawning, and Team Heretics look to be on the move to try and set up this top side.
Yeah, I think Odo Omne knows that something's up though. You can see him backing away. He's just going to go back towards the Krugs, pick them up as he waits to see exactly where Perks is going to show on the map as he gets back towards mid lane. So at the moment, you can see a huge amount of this presence from the mid lane is now starting to bleed over towards the side lanes as well. And Wonder's been doing a great job in top side. This is not an easy matchup for the Aatrox. A huge amount of it relies on you landing that first Q to get the poke with the Arcane Comet. And
fighting this?
He's not going to be able to move down here.
Fourth Grub taken, arrow flies up, the Perk's already out of the way. There's the permafrost, but Kaiser gets a stun of his own. 2 Grubs left remaining as GIANTX try to deny those Void Mites, but there's a tempered fate from Kaiser. Look at it line up against the wall.
Wow, what a great cue from Kaiser.
The shut back from Jackie's gets him out as Perks follows it down the charm, not enough. One more hit, Jackie's gets flashed on. And
nicely
Perks
done.
Says good night. Zignara and Peach are now left remaining. Perks gets low, but this leads out as Perks. As GIANTX try to deny those Void Mites, but there's a tempered fate from Kaiser. Look
at that timing. I mean, the setup from the Bard with this composition is extremely good.
Follows it down the charm, not enough. One more hit, Jackie's gets flashed on, and Perks says good night. Zignara and Peach are now left remaining. Perks gets low, but
thank you, Jerky's Minion.
For Team Heretics to go again.
Peach just ends up setting up perfectly for Kaiser, who times it off of the stage 1 to get the double stun, and that's going to be all 6 Void Grubs now going across to Heretics. They're going to be very happy with the way this early game's going.
Back to one more time, please, because again, this got messy as I think Kaiser really set this up.
Yeah, I think the ult's going wide from the Ashe, a little bit sad. You know that Nara's going to be able to move into this vicinity first, so I'm surprised that GX try and commit to this. But as you say, Kaiser, great ult onto Jackie's, doesn't get the slide away, and then Peach here just sets up for the double stun. They thought with Ignar coming in, maybe they could do something, but Perks does a good job of getting over the wall before Jackie's can throw that out. And then Heretics are able to pick up the kill onto Perks after that one.
Well, close but no cigar. For Team Heretics, getting the kill over to Perks as well is big. Now, ladies and gentlemen, since we got 6, it's a nice time to quickly talk about...
Watching DOS Bard really lowered your expectations for Bard play. It's a good timing on the end of the Bard ult, right? The universe aligned on that one. But that's true. DOS's Bard has reframed my Bard appreciation for this week.
That's going to be great as this game goes on. to try and play out in those side lanes. You can play for that 1-3-1. And even when we look at how we saw the win for Heretics come through against Rogue yesterday, a huge amount of that was, hey, you know, we've got first 2 dragons. Let's start trading on the map. Let's start looking for objective and towers that we can actually use as our enemy has to go and try and take that 3rd dragon. So I think we'll end up in a very similar story here, where Heretics more than likely with 37 seconds on the dragon, you push out bot, you push out mid, start to get control over that jungle area, and then make it impossible for GX to try and contest it.
I mean, there's other things that are becoming impossible as well. Jackie's having a safe laning phase. I mean, with Perk's aggression, Kai'Sa always on the move. It's getting really frustrating for this Azir, who's now 30 CS behind. And Dagger, I think there's something, you know, we were talking about backstage.
This is just a crazy dominance in the mid lane.
We kind of saw the play style the other day. We saw this more calm, controlled, cool play.
Especially with Perks, a man who has struggled with having hands in his old age.
And that's the thing, it's kind of building on incremental advantages. We saw, like, hey, look, Perks getting some good trades in the early stages onto Jackie, but then calling Jankos to really cement that lead in the early stages. They then use that lead in a skirmish to get a 1,000 gold lead now for Perks in that mid lane, thanks to that extra kill as well. So it's these little things that start to compound. That's why you can see, even with that, they've got some nice gold advantages now, with even taking that bot lane tower, but having cleansed down, or bot lane third plate, but having cleansed down for this upcoming play that it looks like Peach is going for on this bot lane to try and respond to Jankos could be dangerous now for Blackens.
Especially when Cleanse against this team, vital when you consider who you're going up against. As you mentioned, Peach, that ulti's going to hurt a lot, but no play's going to be made. GIANTX lose out on the Dragon. It's Jankos who's playing the proactive game here with the Titanic.
Jankos playing really nicely around being out on the map at the right tempo.
When it's your 600th game in the league, you want to be looking smooth. You want to be looking cool, calm, collected. I think this is kind of our expectations coming into Team Heretics at the start as well. 6 plates, Dagda, thank you for pointing that out. A good early game for Team Heretics.
You can see now they want to try and swap into basically what they did yesterday as well, which is going to start putting Blackening towards the mid lane.
Really substantial lead with...
Oh, not at all. I mean, he's just hit level.
Oh, no. It's all right.
Given the kill, nice and easy. Kai'Sa so far.
Yeah, for only having a 1 kill advantage, having a 3k gold lead at that point in time was very good.
Surge now completed on towards the Akali. You're going to see Perks really start to fire on all cylinders, especially if you can get the 1v1 versus Jackies. And I think that's why you're kind of seeing a lot of GX being pulled down.
I like how every dragon has a different name in the code. Yeah, I know. It's like they call it Chemtech in the code, but they also call it Fire in the code instead of Infernal. It's very strange.
Down towards this bottom side. They want to try and flush out a lot of that vision that GX just established on this bot lane and see if they can then respond to that last tower that's in the bottom side of the map.
Well, I mean, first Heart Blood, regardless, goes to Team Heretics. It's a 4k gold lead. For GIANTX, at least matching that, as you were talking about, would be great because they've got objective bounties. It's only 15 minutes in the game. Objective bounties for this team that has only dropped 3 kills.
Yeah, this one was Earth and Cloud was Air, yeah. It's funny that they didn't actually give them the names. I guess they didn't know what they were going to... My guess is when they first created the code, they didn't know what the official names were going to be. So they just used the element names and then decided to fancy it up later.
This is what we're talking about. Heretics flushing out this village vision. They're going to start to establish that now in this topside jungle as well.
So, I guess that makes sense.
I mean, GX, who tries to check it? Yes, you can have Peach go in, but if he gets hit by a bard's gun, you're getting shot from Flacket from downtown. Jankos does a ton of damage. It's not going to be a full
My father-in-law brought me some coffee. It's very nice of him.
I just don't think they have enough in the tank at the moment to try and contest everything that Heretics are achieving. River Vision now belongs to them.
Absolutely, has for a while as well. You can see GIANTX before the play, or at least before these.
Just keeping me here so I can't move. I just have to keep watching League of Legends.
Now for GIANTX, a play on the bot side, still going to be hard. It's an Akali, and you're going to need pretty supply and play.
Am I still in Korea? No, I'm back in Korea. I left for 6 years. Now I'm back. Came back in September. Monty watching the 4th best region. I mean, they're kind of playing like the 4th best region, if we're being honest. Papa, is your team going to kick some ass this week? Not that not that anybody's going to watch your team kick ass, but maybe we can hear if they do.
I just love, again, the options were there, but Jankos is like, nah. And with 6 as well, you've got a whole family. Like going to dinner at Christmas.
Because I'm pretty sure being on live patch is going to triple LCS viewership, so seems reasonable. Millions of viewers have win in 1647 or less.
Yeah, bot tower isn't going to.
Ah, so they're starting up. They're starting the view botting on League of Legends.
Our mid lane, and now you're going to be
Twitch going to help you
and
pump
as I
those
said,
numbers.
Flakked is just going to be able to push in mid. You win the 1v1 in the push against the Ashe. You get to establish vision on this bottom side. You're going to have Dragon up in just in a minute's time as well. So for Heretics, it's nice reset timing. Push out bot wave. Start to look for that vision, and you've now got Wonder who can TP in behind GX, potentially, especially.
Yeah, I don't even know who is FlyQuest playing this week. Are you playing Cloud9? That's the one I want to watch.
How easy is it right now for the level 13? And I have buttons to press. Look at this one. XP bars. Boom. That is production value right there. Hitting the top right now.
Tragically, this game has been pretty dull, guys.
The majority of this game. Perks as well to no
Shopify, Rebellion, and Immortals. Papa,
holding his own in the bottom
you may not end up on Bangers Only this week. Who's the sneaky dark horse of LCS this year, Papa? Who's the sneaky dark horse? Who's better than people think they are?
We've got 30 seconds till Dragon, and TH have already stacked it up. Chains of Corruption are just going to launch on in. The arrow comes through, but it's a bit late. Look at Perks, clean them through. Yankos flashes into a Rakan, but will it matter? As the Tempered Fate flies, but Ignite is out in the nick of time, but Patrick is not. The range is coming through again. Ignite dodge it. He does so. Now Flacket has to flash away because he was so deep. As the sweep and boot comes through from Jackie's, but there's no follow-up. Odo Umne was already out there. He might get the reset onto Yangos, but Perks comes in and makes it messier. Odo with another one in the back, and boy, oh boy, are we doing the switcheroo. Odo Umne flies out the side, at least getting something, but Dagda...
Everyone can beat everyone except 100 Thieves, as in... What? I don't believe you for a second.
It didn't end up mattering in the long run, so great setup here.
Yeah, this is just you not liking 100 Thieves. That's such a lie.
And then the chase starts. This goes wide. Yankos goes onto Patrick, but again doesn't really have the damage to try and follow up. Shot going wide here from Black. It only sets up for Odo, who's now arrived. And then this, Jackie's pushing everyone away. Maybe wanted to send them back into Odo Omne, but not really able to separate them too much.
They might need to consider a different Zoomer title. I thought they were already in on Valorant.
Heretics though now in behind.
Doing it again, are they? Leandro's also just picked up with the Storm Surge. That's two out of McCarley.
I don't know, man. What if 100 Thieves just fucked off forever? What if they just fucked off forever? I'm okay with this.
Things are looking even peachier for Team Heretics as they pick up Dragon. That leads to an Ocean Soul next as well if they're able to follow suit. Still looking good. Still a 5k gold lead. Still all about this blue team.
Yeah, and I think as well the fact that you have a lot of summoner spells burnt as well just opens up Kaiser to try and go for more of these plays as well. So if you end up in a situation where maybe Perks looking at the side lane tries to go for a bit of
Minus 100 Thieves plus Loud. That would be sweet, man.
Perks just doesn't care though. That's the problem. He just doesn't care.
Let Immortals be MIBR. Bring Loud in. Maybe sprinkle some Furia in there. Hey man, I'm in favor of the Brazil, the CB LOL and LCS consolidation plan. That sounds great.
Try and protect him, has the Tempered Fate in case Peach ends up rocking up, or even as we've seen, Ignar is waiting over in the wing. So as you can see at the moment, I like what Kaiser's doing. It's, hey, we're going to get pushing mid, and I'm just going to hover between the two lanes. I can hit both lanes with my Tempered Fate and make sure it's hard for GX to really get an engage or a pick that could potentially bring them back into this.
Jankos heads towards the bottom side. I mean, again, it's always been about how they get back into this. Now, a quick side note, people have been getting used to the items.
The problem is it's just not going to happen, guys. Because Riot would have to buy out a bunch of the teams to make a reasonably sized league. And the amount it would cost to buy those teams out would be crazy. Because if the teams knew that Riot's goal was to create a smaller league that combined Brazil and North America, nobody would want to sell their team. So you would have to pay people a shit ton of money to get them to exit. Riot bought out 2 teams, but that's because people didn't think there was going to be an upside. EG was just collapsing. If it would be a very different conversation if Riot came and said like, hey, we're buying out some teams so we can consolidate LLA, CB LOL, and LCS into one league. Who would want to leave under that circumstance? You've already paid your money. There's clearly a huge upside. Teams that might be willing to sell, like Immortals, if they could be MIBR and have that Brazilian fan base, might do well. So I think it puts you in a really big quandary. where it's like probably most teams would not want to sell under those circumstances unless they got a lot of money to do it. So instead of buying out teams for like 6 million, you're talking like, oh, well, we'd have to buy out these teams for like 25 million, 30 million, you know?
Again, I think it's just this is the style we'll see from Heretics. They play 1-3-1 so incredibly well.
So I think it's a hard problem to solve. I think it's very tricky.
Okay, cool. Well, then that opens up Perks and the Akali to start
Because
showing
definitely nobody wants to get left behind in that circumstance.
So they're never overextending or doing too much. It's just
Papa Smithy, what you have to do is you have to use your contacts at 100 Thieves to start an EG style scandal that forces them out.
Again, you're investing 3 members onto the bottom side because they just don't know what Heretics are going to do.
And cleaning out vision on the other
The
side.
teams must be sabotaged from within.
Goes Wonder, runs into it because he ain't scared of no arrow, but as everyone commits, the tempered bait comes through. The ulti jankily still goes off. Wonder flashes over and looks for the escape. He hops, he jumps, he skips, but unfortunately the follow-up's still there, and GX find the beat up top laner as Yankos is now isolated, but Titanic Hydra, ladies and gentlemen, be fearful. Ignar flashes out and gets out. It'll still be a pick, but what does it lead to, Dagda?
It's a nice pick. It'll slow down the pace of Wonder as well. He's going to have to try and get back out here. 1.5 minutes until Ocean Dragon. The whole plan here for Heretics was to keep up this pressure so then they could establish the control on bot side and then play for that next dragon. But now the Wonder's been picked, it just eases up that opportunity. Odo Omne can shove out bot. You now have Patrick who's able to contest mid-wave and just give GX an opportunity to actually contest this next dragon.
And to attest to your point as well, I guess also the flash being down on Meganar when you consider that Team Heretics won't shy away from a fight is also impactful. So I like the win there. I like the attitude from GX, and I like the fact that, again, they're still 5,000 gold down, but it's not impossible here as Red Buff distributed nicely just before we get down to that minute timer that's accrued in the Ocean Dragon.
Yeah, especially the fact that you have summoner spells on Patrick and Jackie's as well for this next fight. This could give GX an opportunity. The biggest downside is you don't have a second item completed here for Jackie's. He's sitting on just the needlessly large rod. So I think that's where you're going to be lacking in that damage profile. But if you can find
Where would I rank Heretics in EU? I'm going to have to sit down. We're doing Summoning Insight later today and think about where I would rank the teams at the moment. I mean, I think Heretics just has a relatively stable floor given the veterancy of a lot of their players. And outside of that first game, they've looked a lot better, frankly. So they're probably, I don't know, what, like 4th, 5th, 4th through 6th, 4th, 4th, 5th, probably.
Perks are trying to respond to GX making the pick on Perks before Dragon, but tempered bait being down and having no flash of Wonder means you're kind of lacking when it comes to the engage tools here. So GX feeling way more confident to step up, and if you separate here, Patrick's ultimate could be key here to pick off Heretics.
Now remember, Jackie's is in the top side. If he joins in, teleport is available. So this Azir can join in if he's able to base, but teleport comes in early instead for the likes of Perks in base. There's the quickness from Ignar, but against all, Wonder says no. Jumping in the back line, Yankos has no fear, and Perks now on top of Ignar. Look at GIANTX, they're separated and relying on big bad Odo Omne, but in the grave he'll find himself if he stays in. But Jackie's, the rookie, tries to clean it up, but it's unfortunately too late yet again.
Yeah, Perks in the back line.
Jackie's is in the top side. If he joins in, teleport is available. So this Azir can join in if he's able to base, but teleport comes in early instead for the likes of Perks in base. There's the quickness from Ignar, but against all, Wonder says no. Jumping in the back. So this Azir can join in if he's able to base, but teleport comes in early instead for the likes of Perks in base. There's the
I mean, hitting Kaiser with the ult when Kaiser doesn't have his own ult up is not very high value. Gnar gets hit after the Mega Gnar comes down.
in the back line, Yankos has no fear, and Perks now on top of Ignar. Look at GIANTX, they're separated and relying on big bad.
Pretty easy setup for Heretics, honestly. Not very crazy. It's just they didn't. Giants just didn't get any value out of Arrow or Sejuani ult.
GX couldn't clear out of the wards, and Heretics find a perfect fight.
And Perks was free in the back line against the Ashe.
As GX are routed, Soul is taken, and Baron might be next.
Man, you can see there's moments like before the swoop and boop, as I believe you coined it.
Akali's damage is going to be absolutely bonkers when she gets death cap.
Late in the last fight, came through then again, hits everyone, but doesn't matter if no one's
I don't know half these teams in the ULCS. You do. This is Excel, and this is Excel. They just merged with Giants and called themselves fucking GIANTX for some reason.
Or maybe it was more back in the day. A gleaming quill has stolen Baron before. this time. Team Heretics will likely put the nail in the coffin from here. This is good. This is a really
People definitely got in trouble at Blizzard. People were fired because of the scandal at Blizzard. You know, it caused the resignation of the president of the company, the CEO of the company, and then people definitely got fired. People definitely got fired for the Blizzard stuff. Nobody got fired at Riot. That's the crazy thing, is that there was no change in executive leadership at Riot. I have never seen that with a company before, where you could have $100 million fine from the government about systemic discrimination that affected an entire gender and have no change in leadership.
I mean, also seeing another Akali so far. EU Akalis have been crazy. Like Humanoid has been called crazy. It was Niski yesterday as well.
It's absolutely nuts.
5-1 and 2. Also with new Rabadons, remember that 40% scaling on AP.
And apparently all the Blizzard employees spoke up about it. Apparently all the Riot employees are just totally cool with this. They're like, yeah, they're very different now. It's all the same people. Bobby Kotick stayed after the accusations happened. Yes, he did, but the CEO of Blizzard, like, he can't be in. Bobby Kotick can't be in charge of the culture at Blizzard, which is a sub company of Activision. Like,
this is kind of what the people that saw this OG2 lineup reuniting expected to see from this team.
And again, with that veterancy, I was going to say old man in the jungle, but I'm pretty sure he's my age. And Vedius already gave him flack yesterday for calling him old at 31. But I mean, Jankos has been leading, and we know in this game, really solid as well. Throughout the jungle, hasn't picked up the kills, but is definitely such a reliable source on Team Heretics as the rest of the members just calling me out, hitting the top side. That's down. 3 members stay stacked here with Baron. Jankos jumps in, looking for an inner down bot side as well. And you see the split, the 1-3-1 dagger coming through yet again.
And I think it's kind of shown the cracks of what GX brought to the table here. Not having that 1v1 potential in the jungle meant that Peach was kind of on the back foot to try and catch up. But Jankos in a lot of these early stages couldn't play as aggressive as he wanted to into that top side or even into the bottom lane as well. And now Heretics kind of reaping the benefit of Jankos having the more explosive early game. Peach want to make it work now.
Perks has taken on 2 people on the backside. But
what?
He's dumped down before anyone could get there, and now Wonder might be caught out, but at least having a bit of tenacity finds his way through. Odoamne's low.
Peach stages couldn't play as aggressive as he wanted to into that top side or even into the bottom lane as well. And now Heretics kind of reaping the benefit of Jankos having the more explosive early game. Peach want to make it work now.
Perks has taken on 2 people on the backside.
Interesting choice. I guess he thought he was safe because of Wonder's TP, but walking up to the Sejuani, probably not the right call.
Odoamne's low, but still willing to join in the fight. Perks has taken on 2 people.
That top side
Like,
or even into the bottom lane as well. And now Heretics kind of reaping the
I mean, he could get out of this, and he just walks back up to 5-point strike.
Peach want to make it work now.
Perks has taken on 2 people on the backside, but he gets dumped down before anyone could get there, and now Wonder might be caught.
All his precious Darkseal stacks.
Finds his way through. Odoamne's low, but still willing to join in the fight. That's a good pick to stop the aggression with the Baron, and maybe give a bit of breathing room for GIANTX.
Yes, overextension for Perks, and nice job there from Peach to shut him down and help out his team. Jackie's getting the tower up will last just a moment longer, but I think the biggest one is now it only blocks Odoamne to try and clear out that top side of the map. You can even see, Patrick starting to clear out bot, so again, Heretics kind of fumbling the ball a little bit on these side lane plays and not respecting the fact that you can have these long-range engages from the Freljordians on GX.
They're trying to follow that up again, aren't they? Red buff, I believe, taken down here by Jankos. He looks for someone else. This time it's Ignar. The chase is good, and remember with Ocean Soul, they ain't near dying at all. Team Heretics regroup, a look for the picks. I mean, these are dangerous backing positions. Kites are going to find one. That's onto Peach. Jankos launches in yet again, slows him down. Peach has got 570 games to reach the mastermind. That is Team Heretics Jankos. Again, showing his veterancy.
It's absolutely insane that Jankos has played 600 games.
Perks at the bot side as well. They smell blood in the water with this one.
Absolutely
They're trying to
crazy.
make sure that they can use as much of this opportunity to get these waves shoved in. Again, like Baron,
Especially considering he hasn't been playing in LCK or LPL, which have a lot more games.
creeps in one of these lanes. It's going to be so good for them.
Nope, another arrow goes down. Seems easy to do that at this point as well, I might add. Just Wonder chases forward the level 17
Now, he spent a lot of time playing in LEC, where it was double best of 1 round robin, you know what I mean? So 18 games in the regular season.
GIANTX have to go to and fro. Which lane do you deal with?
Neither. Because there's not really much you can do. Heretics, Again, they crack up in the base. They won't go and overextend for the mid lane tower.
Do I miss casting? Yeah, I mean, I miss the act of casting. You know, casting in and of itself is fine, but I don't want to go back to it just because from a career perspective, it's a dead end. You know what I mean? It's not anything there, especially under the current ecosystem. Like, it'd be fine if there was still a third party running things in Korea, but you know, with Riot running everything, you just can't negotiate your rates. They put a ceiling on top of you, so you can't really get anywhere. You have to play by their rules, and their rules suck. So, you know, it's not worth the trade-off. Like, it's not fun enough. You know, I can still do a bunch of work in esports without casting, so. And I get to control my own fate and run my own company and stream my own streams and make my own content, and just a lot more fun, frankly.
It's experience for some of the younger rookies in the league, and right now the old men are winning out.
Apparently, you just have to be the newest players in the league if you want to try and beat Heretics. But I mean, Heretics looking spry and good at the moment. Dragon's going to be set up for them. You can see at least GX are trying to respond by putting.
I mean, casting is a garbage career right now compared to almost anything else you could do.
Heretics, you can't even compete for this. And you see Patrick on the camera there. Even he's scratching his beard as to what the hell do we try and do to come back into this?
I mean, again, it's not even optimism at this point, Dagda. I think we could be deluded if we say they come through elders in hand. I mean, at what point do you go, this is over, we're just waiting for the finishing bell, you know? Like, at this point in the game...
This game has been pretty dull, guys. It's been super one-sided since the start.
Against Mike Tyson, I'm going to get cleaved. All right, let's be realistic.
I don't know, I saw your boxing coming in yesterday in your WWE intro.
No,
maybe, yeah.
No way am I close. I'm not even close to Gigabin. You know what I'm like? I'm like the guy in Hangover. And Mike Tyson starts singing. I don't even know the character's name. Stu. That's the experience right now.
Is there Stu? Is that what we're going?
That's it. We're biding our time because for GIANTX.
Prediction for T1 versus Gen G. I think T1 will probably win.
Better than expected for me.
Just because Gen G is going to have to play entirely differently with this roster, and I anticipate that that's going to take some time for the team to really gel. So I'd be surprised if Gen G won. It would be obviously great for lolesports if Gen G won instantly, because then we would have like a really fire rivalry right off the bat. It'd be very exciting. But the ceiling of Gen G is very high. However, you know, the difference between Peanut and Canyon is vast. And I do wonder how the shot calling is going to be on Gen G.
But you don't want to. You don't want to be in this position. Team Heretics slow and controlled again. The tempered bait locks down too. All you need is a cosmic binding to follow through. All the poke that's been coming in. Peach ain't tanky enough. Heretics jungler Yankos, the legend, jumps on in. They expose the Nexus. How clean is this for his 600 game? He didn't need to sweat.
Yeah, easy.
Now's the time to relax.
Easy.